Calgary's about a year out from its next civic election, and while some have already thrown their names into the race, there's one notable question mark: the current mayor, Jyoti Gondek. I'm Jason Markusoff. I write about politics for CBC Calgary, and in the last few weeks I sat down with the city's mayor on a couple of occasions. She wasn't there to announce her next mayoral campaign, but to discuss the challenges she's faced during her tenure. Usually, an incumbent mayor has a near guarantee to get re-elected, but this time around, things aren't so clear.
I'm very interested in making sure that if I choose to enter the race, that Calgarians understand clearly who I am, what I stand for, what my vision is, and what I commit to them in terms of public service. And I think it just takes time to get to know a person.
Are you seriously undecided about whether to run again right now, or is it just a matter of timing on the decision?
I think it's a matter of staying focused on the work at hand.
Every Calgary mayor since the early 80s has won a second term, comfortably. Now Gondek's saying she doesn't feel Calgarians have really gotten to know her just yet. 3 years into her term as the sitting leader of one of Canada's largest cities, that's how the mayor feels 1 year away from the election. Here's what Calgarians said when we asked them about the current mayor.
I actually don't even know who the mayor is right now. I am embarrassed to say. I knew it wasn't Nenshi anymore, but I wasn't following along.
I know that she likes flu bugs, but I don't know a lot about them or her. Yeah, I would like to know more though.
Do you know much about her?
Not overly. I know some people who are close with her, and seems like she's very for the community and kind of talks to a lot of locals and stuff. I know it sounds bad, but I don't really know a lot about the mayor. I feel like sort of as a young person, she's sort of outside of the zeitgeist. Under 40, we don't really know a lot about her.
I know she's not terribly well liked. And that's about it. I hear a lot of stories about things that she may or may not have done, and how much of that is true, I don't know.
Throughout her term, Gondek has had low approval ratings. A recent poll from September showed that only 18% of Calgarians think she should be re-elected.
How do you account for your approval ratings where they are?
I would say that these have been times like we have not seen before.
As the mayor sees it, she was elected in the midst of the pandemic, a time when she couldn't hold public events or meet her constituents in the way some other mayors could. What's more, she tells me polarization is high, and then there's a cost of living crisis.
When people are that concerned about their daily life, they are frustrated, and it shows in how they feel about leadership. I think every mayor is going to face a trying time and challenges.
But none of them have faced the reception that you have.
It's an interesting question to pose. If I had the answer to that, I would tell you, it feels different. It all feels so different. And I would tell you that most people are observing that as well. So we've also never had the ability to recall a person who's on council, and you have that this time around. And so when you have 2 months of an active petitioner saying that you should be recalled, and it's covered in the news, that shakes people's confidence. When you have times where misinformation is abound and it's hard to dispel it, changes people's perception.
Many people around Gondek, former staffers and campaign organizers, have a different take. A good politician doesn't need to just communicate, they need to sell their message to the public. Her former chief of staff told me that Jyoti Gondek, who ran for this mayoral seat, was branded a savvy, pragmatic progressive. But when she actually became mayor, she didn't live up to that brand. Supporters of Gondek praise her smarts and her ideals. They say she doesn't really govern with the next election in mind. But both conservative Calgarians and progressives have reasons to turn their nose up. For example, declaring a climate emergency, raising property taxes, blanket rezoning, pledging $550 million to the Flames Arena, and the list goes on.
When I ran very frankly and clearly that I wanted to bring back balance and stability. And I have been someone who exists in the center because I think it's important to come at things from a centered perspective and to see what the evidence tells you and to understand what the right decision is and not just be tied into a party's belief system or an ideological view. So that's why you'll see me voting different ways depending on what's before us.
Why is it then that a lot of the criticism, a lot of the heat from a lot of councillors, certainly from the recall campaign, comes from the right against you?
It's interesting to me. I mean, the only political party I've ever belonged to was the Progressive Conservatives when I first moved to Calgary, so late 90s, early 2000s, under Ralph Klein at the time. So, that's where I felt my politics could best align. Following that, I haven't really found a party that I 100% agree with. I'm not involved provincially or federally. I can't say that anyone provincially or federally is particularly appealing to me right now when it comes to leadership.
Gondek says right now she's focused on her current role as mayor, not the looming election. But I do know she's speaking to past donors and campaign supporters. One attendee at a recent mixer said people expected her to announce something. Gondek didn't deliver that, though. Instead, her message to the crowd was that she'll do her job as long as she sits in the mayoral chair. The thing is, unlike other elections, mayoral hopefuls aren't waiting to see what Gondek decides. Challengers are already announcing their intent to vie for the mayor's seat. In this sort of crowded field, an unpopular incumbent mayor could theoretically squeeze out a victory. Or she could finish third or fourth. That sort of odds may well be on her mind as she figures out what she's doing next October.